So I'm not going to tell you about my one day being a phone sex operator. It ended when I couldn't purr correctly because I sound like Simba. I'm not going to tell you about when I was a ghost tour guide in Philadelphia, even though I scared everybody off of the subway train because they were like, witch, witch! And I was like, haunted history tour guide. I have worked a lot of interesting jobs, but I am going to tell you my favorite one, or at least my first favorite one, which is the camp counselor. I know Dan hates it, but I loved it. I loved it. I lived and was from Long Island, and so we have these really wealthy, thanks Long Island, these really wealthy camps. And so we had this one camp that I worked at where all the kids were from diplomats and people from the UN. And I ended up being the nature specialist. And I signed up because my mom can survive in the wilderness for 2 weeks, and she taught me how to do it. So I wanted to take all these rich kids and bring them through the woods and be like, poison ivy, mint, eat it. Poison ivy, tick, watch out. What ended up happening is I ended up getting 20 livestock because the petting zoo specialist didn't show up, and they didn't even tell me. They just merged my name, my title together. So I was nature specialist / 20 livestock. Like goats and chickens and deer and bucks and donkeys and llamas, and it was horrible. But I decided I wanted to teach these kids so much. So there was this pond at the end of the property, and it was like the size of Disneyland. And I was in the pond, and the pond was actually a runoff from a 6-lane highway. But it was beautiful. It had red-winged blackbirds, and the pond water was so vibrant with old condoms and plastic bags. And I was like, I'm gonna get all these samples, and the kids and I are gonna look at it in a microscope, and they're gonna learn so much, mind blow, because I am so idealistic at 20 years old. But what I decided to do was that I'm going to wade into the sump pond, and I'm going to fetch all of the cute little rich children bullfrog tadpoles that I've watched hatch. We've been watching them hatch, and I'm going to wade in. So I did not let the kids walk into the wonderful sump pond. I was going to take that one for the team. I walk in shorts, and the kids are all like, go, Daddy, go! Go, Daddy, go! And I'm like, yeah, I'm pumped. And meanwhile, it's India's ambassador's child is there, and this little girl who's like, how many houses do you have? And I was like, does my car count? And all of these kids are super valuable to the world, and I am not going to put them in danger. So I go in and I get all of the tadpoles, and I'm putting them with my long net into the bucket, and they're like, 10, 16, 20 tadpoles, get me outside. And I was like, yeah. And I walk out, and they're like, what's wrong with your legs? Why are they moving? Ew. Yeah, some nature girl I am. I walk into a sump pond filled with leeches. Filled. So what you're supposed to do with leeches, because there's an antiseptic and an anticoagulant, you're supposed to wait until they fall off, or you burn them off, or whatever. But that doesn't happen when it hits your mind. You just go, ah! You just rip them all off. The problem is when you rip all of the leeches off your legs, you just bleed. A lot. In front of all of these famous, really important children. So Ben is like, oh my God! I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm bleeding, I can't stop it. They get the soccer coach from South Africa, Bodie, he's in law school at NYU. He runs down, he goes, what happened, Di? I'm like, it's fine, it was the leeches. He's like, no! And he picks me up. I was like, no, I'm 20 years old, stop cradling me like a child. And he's running me across the campus, I'm bleeding all over him. And turns out that if you bleed in front of diplomatic children, you cause traumatic stress. So we had to get a counselor. And I had to write a really long apology note about bleeding in front of their children. But I still loved my job, and we ended up with 20 giant bullfrogs, which I gave to each and every one of them.